today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Out of Voices podcast. As always, this is Rakeem. I'm recording by myself today. It's Father's Day, and everybody else has plans, got a lot of things done, and so I'll be recording by myself. So it means it probably won't be as long. The episode won't be as long. But like I said, everybody has things to do, and it's kind of good that because I want to say a few things. We missed 1 week last week because I was moving, and there was a few other things going on, and so we didn't put up an episode for last week. But more importantly, last week, Sunday, was the shootings in Orlando, Florida. I'm sure most of the world is talking about it, and that horrible thing. So before I can even continue, I'd like to do a brief moment of silence for all the lives lost in such a senseless manner. Okay, with that being said, actually, in the past couple years, United States has suffered quite a few mass shootings and just really messed up acts of terror, just domestic terror. And this one, for some reason, really hit a weird place with me. I mean, I'm sure everybody had their own responses, but I kind of pride myself on being able to deal with when bad things happen, because that's life. That's horrible things happen every day, and just being in, this hobby of podcasting and listening to the news and discussing social issues, you run up on bad things every day. I mean, the world is a messed up place. But the horror in Orlando really just screwed me up. Because, well, not long beforehand, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and we were discussing just the climate of America right now. And with the election and support and all election and support for the candidates like Trump and Clinton, and the rash of violence, shootings in the past 2-3 years, and just deaths. And I actually told her, I was like, I feel like this is just the beginning of some really bad things happening, and really like worse things happening, and that very soon a big tragedy is going to happen. Because I'm a historian. I have degrees in history, and being as such, as a historian, you start to see patterns of how things happen. History repeats itself. It goes in cycles. And when you can identify those cycles, you can see when things are going to happen. And I told her, I was like, I feel like something big and bad is going to happen soon. And within a week of that conversation, there's this Orlando shooting. So I want to talk about that and give my opinion on a few things. Usually, like I said, this podcast is a dialogue, but like I said, most people are busy, and I might actually have a secondary podcast later on in the week to discuss things more. But this one I kind of just want to shoot solo for a second, just so people could understand where I'm coming from, and if anybody cares where I'm coming from. Anybody may agree or disagree or whatever. But the first thing I noticed, amidst all the horror and just sadness that happened, the very first thing that happened was it was an immediate politicization of the incident. There was barely any time for mourning. As soon as the blood was spilled, almost, and the incident had happened, it was immediate politicization. This country, we don't even give people time. We don't even get to acknowledge a tragedy. We don't get to acknowledge that people lost their lives without it immediately becoming something that we need to fight over. And I'm going to get to those issues later, mind you. I'm going to talk about that later. But we've lost empathy as a country. Now, I don't know where it was lost, but we've lost it. We've lost the ability to feel what others are feeling. And that's not good. I've seen so many people, put on Facebook how they're feeling. And, that's good. That's good. If that's the way you want to get out and, mourn and make a statement, fine. But the majority of the country immediately went to politicization. Not stopping for a moment before things happen, before things got out of control, to go, this is bad. This happened. We need to stop and think about it for a second before we move forward. Yeah. Before we move forward. Sorry about that. No, we just stop. We don't. Tragedies have become flavor of the month. We don't think about what happened anymore. Just, okay, this is another news event. Another thing that we need to argue about. Another thing that people are going to use. Tragedies, that's a sad thing, that tragedies have just become the commonplace. People just, and honestly, this Orlando shooting within a month or so will probably be out of news, and there'll be something else people talk about. And all these lives, all these deaths will be pushed in the background, especially with the election going on. And all that bullshit, because that's bullshit. Because those people don't... You're out here voting for these leaders, but they don't, as seen, they don't give a shit about us. They don't care about the people who were killed. That's just you. They're just going to use it to push their own issues, which is fucked up. It's really fucked up. But like I was saying, it's messed up that we don't step back and mourn for a second, think for a second, without immediately pushing for some political bullshit. It's fucked up. And this is not only a tragedy for the LGBT community, it's a tragedy for everyone. It is. This was Americans dying. This is people dying. And we should care. We should care on an emotional level and not just for political reasons. We should care as human beings. And not just for bullshit. With that being said, I wanted to say something about Omar Mateen, or whatever his name is. The fucker. I'm not even going to say it. The fucker. First of all, the guy's clearly not sane. I ain't talking about he's just mentally ill. Of course he was mentally ill, but he wasn't fucking sane. Like he was a psychopath. And he decided that he, because he saw something that he didn't personally agree with him and his worldviews, that he would go murder people. And this is the problem. That's horrible. That is something that I can't honestly fathom. I can't fathom someone, why anyone would do that. I don't get it. Like, I don't just it's not even just for one's beliefs. You're taking a life into your hands, and he took 50 lives into his hands, and he took them. No human has the power to mitigate life and death, but he did, and that's fucked up. But when it all came out, of course, he was a Muslim individual, and immediately the narrative became a narrative of domestic terrorism. I mean, not domestic terrorism, foreign terrorism. That he was a member of, he had somehow been influenced by the almighty specter of ISIS, and he had been influenced to go do this. And this was an attack on America from the outside. And this is what they were pushing. But as reports have said later, even though there have been claimed that ISIS has taken credit for it, most other reports show that he had no connection to ISIS. And then along with that narrative of foreign terrorism, it became a narrative of radical Islam. That this is what radical Islam will do to America. This is what radical Islam is, and it's just going to destroy America, and blah blah blah. And Islam is dangerous. This man didn't just do this because of radical Islam. He didn't do it because of Islam. Okay? I'm sorry, if he's already down that rabbit hole, then he would have did a lot worse a lot sooner. This was a decision he made. The news and a lot of society wants to make this a foreign problem. They want to make it an outside problem. They want to give the American public an enemy to unite against. That's the narrative. Just like at 9/11. But at that point, we did have an enemy we did have an enemy to unite against. Though it was, that enemy became once again a specter, a big thing of terrorism, or a terrorist which has no face. But then we had an enemy that was committed by a specific group for a specific reason. And this is the thing that the media and politicians and the people in control, that's what they will prefer. It makes things easier. When the enemy is outside, it can unite people, make them stronger, more obedient, more patriotic, make them willing to fight, more susceptible to being convinced to, go fight in other countries. And however, it hides the actual issues at hand. I've seen it 1,000 times this week. I've seen it all over Facebook, all over the news, all over social media, all over the internet. That Omar Mateen is not an ISIS problem. He's not a foreign problem. He's an American problem. And that is the truest thing in this whole scenario. This man was not just this was not some foreign Islamist that was doing this. This was an American. This wasn't just the ideas of radical Islam or Islam being dangerous and killing people. These are American ideals. This man had wanted to be a cop, but he failed. In this country, they teach cops and other members of authority that minorities are bad, are dangerous, that they need to be watched. This man was in Florida. Okay? The minority to watch in Florida, quote unquote, would be Hispanics, because they are a large minority in Florida. So when you take a person who not only wanted to be a police officer, but idealizes police officers and how they're thinking, how they're taught, and then you put him out and you let his single-minded campaign to be a police officer, it fails. So he has resentment, and he's going to show that resentment towards people who he has been told that are bad. Then you have his religious angle. If you were raised in a household where your religion tells you that a certain people are morally reprehensible and against God, you are going to think that. And that is who you're going to blame any kind of troubles on. Now, there have also been reports that he may have had homosexual tendencies. He may himself have been a homosexual, even with a wife. He may have been a closeted homosexual. And if that was the case, then you have a man who is a closeted homosexual dealing with the fact that his beliefs teach him that that's wrong, but he has feelings. He has a natural drawing to members of the same sex, and he hates himself. And he also blames that self-hate on an outside, because if these gays didn't exist, he wouldn't have these feelings. So you mix all that together, and then he sees it. A gay club where the targets of his self-hate and all his loathing are gathered. And not only are they gathered, but they're having a night that is going to be based around minorities. People that the culture he just worships, the police culture he worships, says are wrong and criminals. It gave him the perfect opportunity. And this man, legally, I mind you, because he's an American citizen, went and purchased all the weapons, all the ammunition he needed, without any, thinking, without people questioning why he would need this. And he went and acted out on the horrible, horrible things that he was thinking. And that is not Islam. That is America. Okay? That is not just ISIS. That is America. Alright? We live in a country where every day in pulpits, religious people, and we're not going to just blame this on Islam. We're not going to say it's in the mosque and they teach this violence. But in Christian pulpits, preachers every day, priests, bishops every day preach hate and discrimination against the LGBT community. They drive home in people's minds that homosexuality is wrong, and not even that it's wrong, that it's the ultimate abomination. Not counting the myriad of other sins in the Bible. I mean, eating shrimp is just as bad in the Bible. But that is the ultimate abomination, according to so many. We have a culture that up until almost recently, at one point we classified homosexuality as a mental disorder. Okay? We have a heteronormative society that if it's not straight, it's not right. That's just true. I don't care how much progress the LGBT community has made. in the eyes of most of society, if it's not straight, it's not right. That's just how it is. So you have this building of hate and disdain towards a community in America, in so many towns, countries, pulpits, churches, homes. And then you have an America that targets minorities specifically. Black people, Hispanics, LGBT community. They have been given the ire of society. Most of society's problems are always blamed on some other. Always blamed on a minority. If there's a crime, blame it on the thugs. And we know that's code for black. Donald Trump can get up here and say, well, there's rapes happening. There's a lot of rapes happening. It must be the Mexicans. Or, oh my gosh, or people blaming the horrendous rape culture on trans people or gay people and passing laws to keep them out of fucking bathrooms. Or laws allowing people to discriminate against them. Society wants to blame all of its problems on minority sections of the country. Every time you turn on the news and it's bad, it was more than likely it will be blamed on a minority. And if it's a bad thing done by a white person, it will be blamed on mental illness. And that's a problem too. Because instead of looking at what caused the person to do it, you're going to take the out and go, oh, he was mentally ill. And mentally ill people are dangerous. Let me tell you something. Not all mentally ill people are dangerous. Most people that are mentally ill, they go get their medication, they go get help, and they're perfectly fine members of society. A lot of your friends and family you don't even know are mentally ill. Because guess what? They go and take care of themselves. They're not the dangerous ones. But the media and our society wants to blame all the bad things in it on someone else. They want to blame it on ISIS. They want to blame it on minorities. They want to blame it on Islam. They want to blame it on LGBT people. They want to blame it on, hell, women. They want to blame it on anyone else except what's happening in society. And our society teaches violence. It does. It breeds violence. It breeds anger. We have a society that encourages a very dangerous, toxic, masculine mindset. That a man's man, quote unquote, is the greatest thing to be, and anything other than that is wrong. And we have a society, and this is the big issue now, that people keep bringing up with the politicizing thing. We have a society that believes guns solves every problem. That you can go out and kill your way to make things better. And that is a real issue. This is the problem I have with gun control. Well, not gun control, of the way the system is set up now with guns. Now, if you want to defend yourself and defend your home, fine. Go get a handgun. Obtain it legally. Buy it. But be trained. Go get training. Know when to use it, how to use it. Get checked. Get run through. Do you have problems with mental instability? It should be cataloged. It should be known. If you are a danger to yourself and anyone around you, it should be known. When you go purchase a weapon, you should have the right to bear arms. But you should also know how to handle yourself, how to handle others, and what is appropriate and not appropriate, and it needs to be cataloged. There needs to be a way to stop things like this from happening. That's just all there is to it. You need a way to stop things like this from happening. And that's not saying even if you enact gun control, it won't stop happening. It won't stop. Like nothing can really stop anything. Okay, but it can make things less difficult. Make more difficult for it to happen. After 9/11, somebody posted this dumb thing. It was like, planes were used in 9/11, but after 9/11 we didn't ban all planes. No, we didn't. But you know what we did? We did do? We passed laws to make it harder for people to get box cutters on planes, to get weapons on planes, for them to hijack it. We implemented things to make airlines safer so it wouldn't happen again. But somehow, when mass shootings happen, it's always somebody else's problem. But it's not the fact that these people were able to get these weapons and use them legally. Because most of the time, most mass shootings, and most shootings in general, most gun crime in general, is not committed by people who go obtain guns illegally. No, it's by people who get their guns legally and use them. And that's a problem. That is a real fucking problem. And here's another thing. There is no fucking reason for anyone outside of a military situation to have an automatic weapon. I don't care what you say. You don't need a fucking do not need a military grade automatic weapon in your home life. You don't. If you say you need it for defense, who the fuck are you defending against? Because that weapon ain't gonna kill one person, it's gonna kill everybody in the goddamn room. Unless you got a whole goddamn army coming after you. Unless you're fucking Rambo and you got Viet Cong coming after you. You don't need an automatic weapon in your house. You don't. You can do the same thing with a pistol, a shotgun, normal shit. But you don't. There's no reason a civilian needs an automatic weapon. Your logic for defense, it's stupid. It's bullshit. Because then the same people say it's for defense. Well, you ask me who you're defending against. Well, you go say they're defending against criminals. Like I said, unless you're fighting, unless you have pissed off the mafia and they send a hit squad after you, there's not going to be a mob or a huge gang of people coming in your house that you need to mow down with an automatic weapon. And the only other thing is, well, I need protection from the government. Okay. There hasn't been a time in the past, 200 years, where the government was coming door to door to take you out in the streets and kill you. Alright, this isn't Nazi Germany. As much as people want to say Trump is the new Hitler and Obama is the new Hitler and blah 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 blah, this ain't Nazi Germany. People ain't dragging you out of your house. Police do some fucked up shit, but they're not waging war against you. Okay, they're not waging war against American civilians. It's not happening. No one is trying to do anything to you. They're not forcing you into camps. They're not threatening you in a manner enough where you need to mow down everyone with an automatic weapon. That's just not happening. This is not the world we live. This is not the world we're living in. Okay, just not. So you don't need it. You don't need it. The only reason people really have automatic weapons is for 3 things. 1, you go shoot it at a shooting range to make yourself feel powerful. Because you lack the power in your real life, and you want to reclaim that power somehow. And a weapon, any kind of weapon in someone's hands makes them feel powerful. And if you want to go shoot an automatic weapon at a shooting range, fine. If I want to go shoot a paintball gun, I could go to a paintball shooting range. But guess what? I don't have to own that damn gun. I can rent a paintball gun and shoot it at the range. And when I'm done, put it back. The more you know, you can do something like that. You don't need it at home. But let's be real. Half the guys who were, I need an automatic weapon, blah blah blah. I need a gun, blah blah blah, because you have a small dick. You wanna be real? You got a small dick. You feel less of a man, and you need something to make you feel big, something that gives you power, because you feel inadequate. Omar Mateen felt inadequate. You can tell. His actions tells a tale of inadequacy. He needed to go exercise power over people. He needed to kill him. He took power in his hands. That's inadequacy. That's what it breeds. And the second reason you would need an automatic weapon is what Omar Mateen did, and it was to kill people, to cause mass carnage. And we don't want mass carnage. At least we're not supposed to. But a lot of you fuckers, you dream of it. You want a opportunity to go out and kill people. You want shit to pop off, because you get to go out and shoot people. It's sick. It really is. It's fucking sick. People's obsession with guns, it's sick. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with owning a gun. Nothing owning a gun for protection. But obsessing about it is a problem. Worshipping it, because you do. These NRA bastards and these gun lovers, they sit up and worship at the altar of guns. It's a fucking phallic symbol. I mean, damn, they're 2 inches away from sucking that bitch. They worship it. Calm the fuck down. Okay? Calm down. It's sick. This is the society, this is the mindset that breeds people like this. It breeds Mateen and the Joker dude from the theaters a few years back, and that crazy bastard who went into the black church, and the kid and the dude out in California, or all the other shootings at the military bases, and all this other dumb stuff. This is the kind of stuff, this is the mindsets that breed it. Okay? There needs to be things in place to make it more difficult for the people who are going to commit such atrocities to not get them. You shouldn't be handing people weapons so easily. I'm not saying take away your guns. That's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. And this is for my liberal viewers and listeners, super liberal viewers, and say we should take away all guns. No, that's stupid. Okay? I'm sorry. That's stupid. But if you're going to be able to purchase these things legally, one, automatic weapons off the table. They really should be off the table. There's no reason for you to have it. There isn't. You can make it up in your head all the time. You can try to justify it all you want. There's no reason for you to have it. And just going, well, I should have it because I want it. I could want a nuclear bomb right now. That don't mean I should build it. I could want a house full of hookers to have to fuck all day and all night. But guess what? Probably shouldn't have it. Just because you want something doesn't mean you should get it. That's another problem in our society right there. Especially men. Men think that if they want something, they should always have it. That's why rape is such a big thing. It is. That's why rape is such a big thing. Men think if they want something, they should have it. Because men are the powerful ones. And we should get what, well, not we, because I'm black and we don't get shit. But white men should get whatever they want in society. Because they're in charge. They should get what they want. But you don't fucking need it. You don't need it. You probably shouldn't have it. There's no reason for you to have it. Admit it to yourself. Go home right now. Admit it to yourself. Look in the mirror. Say I have a small penis and that's okay. Probably shouldn't have an automatic weapon. I can be okay with my shotgun. I can be okay with my pistol. It's fine. But no, automatic weapons off the table. 2, when you do go get a gun, before you get it, when I have to go drive a car, I had to go take a class. I had to read a book. I had to take a test. And then I got a license. And then I got a car. If a car is so dangerous that I need to take a class, take a test, and be trained and knowledgeable in the use of it, and have a license, then so should guns. If you're going to go get a gun, you should be trained how to use it. You should be tested on proper control, when to use it, and it should be cataloged. When the police pull me over in a car, they can look at my driver's license and go, okay, this belongs to you. This is what happened. Easy. They can run my shit. They should better run your shit when something happens. To go, hey, well, yeah, no. And when you fuck up in the car, what happens? They take your license away. Same thing should happen with guns. You fuck up and do something you shouldn't do, take your gun away. It's simple. I'm not saying remove weapons, remove guns. That's stupid. Like I said, anybody who says let's get rid of all guns, no, that's stupid. You're dumb. What I'm saying is there needs to be barriers. There needs to be hoops. There needs to be training. There needs to be training. There needs to be knowledge, and there needs to be prevention. No one's coming into your house to take your gun away. That was never on the table. That was never going to happen. But you need to be a fucking responsible adult and step out of your gun fantasy, your masculine bullshit, and go, you know what? He's right. I need to be, as an adult, I need to admit that there are steps that need to be taken. There are safety precautions that need to be put in place. Be smart. Stop being selfish. There's more than you out there. Because while you may not go out and murder people, all it takes is one person who easily gets a weapon to kill dozens. And that is not okay. I don't care who it is. I don't care who you are. You have to admit that's not okay. It blows my mind, really. And you know what? Like I said, it's gonna oh my God. It's gonna be a big issue. It's always gonna be an issue, and nothing's going to happen because our politicians are funded and supported. They're given money by the NRA, who, with their cult of gun loving. Like I said, I have no problem with guns. I collect swords. They're weapons. You know what I did? Simple. We took fencing classes. I know how to handle myself with a sword. I know it's not useful today, but I made the adult decision of going to learn how to use the weapons I have. It's amazing what little precautions can do when you're not bitching about someone. Oh my God, they're going to take my gun. They're going to take the only thing that makes my dick feel big. Get over yourselves is what I'm saying. Get over it. This has really affected me in such a way. I don't know how to take it, and where to go from here. But I'm talking about in life, not on the podcast. This is just the most serious podcast we've had in a while. Because I'm the only one here. But I want to talk a minute about. I gotta go in on the Christians a little bit, okay? Not all of you, because some of you have, many of you, I would say a whole lot, have stood in solidarity with the people who lost their lives and their families, and you've moved past the whole notion of we need to hate these people because there's something they don't agree with us, literally, because they're people. My mom always taught me to hate the sin, not the sinner. Even if I don't agree with someone or what they do, that doesn't make me stop loving them. But the response I've gotten out of so many Christian people, horrible people, is that it may have been sad, but isn't this God's judgment? It's God's judgment on these people for walking in sin. And that is fucked up. Okay? But it's what happens when you believe the wages of sin of death is death. When your religion teaches you that the wages of sin is death, that if you're a sinner, you're going to die. And that when bad things happen to people, it's because of their sin. Not because, well, bad things happen. There are fucked up people in the world. It's a fucked up world. But you say it's because of their sin. And that's bullshit. No one should die because they're doing something that your God doesn't put up with. Because guess what? You're doing things that your God doesn't like on an everyday basis. You are. You're not perfect. But you believe their sin is worse than yours. You believe that you believing what you do allows you to sin and be forgiven while they don't and shouldn't have their lives forfeit. And that is horrible. That's evil. What I'm saying is your beliefs are evil. I'm not saying Christianity is evil. I'm saying the people who believe like that believes their version of Christianity is. I had, on a very similar note, I had some people tell me growing up in school, because we've discussed my school before, that AIDS, HIV, was God's punishment on homosexuals for their sins. That literally God gave homosexuals a disease before their sins. Not counting the hundreds and thousands of straight people who may have gotten HIV from, I don't know, infected blood, or, coming in contact with another straight person who did not know they had HIV. Or the children who were born with HIV. But the virus is punishment from God. And that is, once again, it's horrifying. For anyone to think that an excruciating, painful death is what you deserve because you are a quote-unquote sinner. And then with that being said, these same Christians denounce Islam as being
dangerous, as being vicious, as being evil. Missing the point entirely. You can't say, well, of course he did something like this. He's Islam, and Islam is violent, when your book and your beliefs say the same damn thing. The Old Testament and New Testament gives you punishments on how you should kill people for sinning, on how you should wage war against sinners. In the Bible, the Jewish, I'm not saying the Jews, whatever. No. I'm saying in the Bible, the story of all that shit in the Bible, the Jews committed, the Israelites, that's better. I don't mean to say Jews. Sorry. I meant the Israelites. Because it's not the same thing. The Israelites committed mass genocides under the command of the Lord, under the word of God. Struck down people, innocents. There were occasions where they were told to massacre every man and woman who and women who had been with men, and keep only the children and virgins for themselves, to take as wives. And you want to tell me that Islam is the dangerous stuff? That Islam is hate? Jesus, you call Jesus the Prince of Peace, but he said he came to make war. You can't look at other people and go, they're so evil, when your people, your belief structure, your religion has done the same things. And don't give me Islamists are terrorists or whatever. Christianity has played more than its part in mass in genocides in history. I would say that compared to the death toll that Christianity has laid waste to the world, Islam pales in comparison. It's a veritable new kid on the block compared to what Christianity has done in the past and continues to do now. The difference now is we have a little thing called media and national news, and it can publicize things as much as it wants. And in our society, Christianity is valued above all things. It is the majority. It is what's valued highest. So when the picture is being painted, it's going to put Christianity in the positive light and put Islam, its opposition, or its current opposition anyway, according to the media narrative, the current opposition of America and the current opposition of Christianity is Islam. It will paint Islam as the ultimate negative. But Christianity has and continues to do the same thing. As there are Islamic militants, there are Christian militants every day that murder and kill and beat in the name of God, that brainwash in the name of God to create good Christian soldiers. Just as radical Islam spreads throughout the world, radical Christianity spreads throughout the United States, and it's been spreading for decades, hundreds of years. There are people who still worship the Ku Klux Klan. Okay? There are members everywhere, thousands upon thousands of people. But no one's calling the works of Christianity in history terrorism. When they were burning down black homes and black cities and hanging black people from trees, no one was calling that terrorism. Matter of fact, it's a well-known part of history. It's not even talked about in hushed tones or said to be really extremely bad. It's just what happened, guys. It just did it. Or even going as far back as the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition, where Christians were literally going in and ravaging and burning and pillaging and killing and raping in the name of God. But we don't consider that to be radical Christianity. That is just the path of Christianity and bringing Christianity to the world. everything done in the spread of Christianity in America is considered good and it's okay, because as long as Christianity is spread, it's fine, because everybody needs a little Jesus. You're full of shit. Okay? You're full of shit. That's like when people tell me, well, I mean, slavery was bad, but at least black people got to meet Jesus. You motherfucker. You telling me that we had to go through a Holocaust, and let me tell you, it was a Holocaust. The Holocaust in Europe, in World War II, pales in comparison to the millions upon millions of lives lost in the transatlantic slave trade. It's terrible. It's just awful, but it's just something. Oh my God, it just, and no one considers that bad. No one considers that bad. No one considers that terrorism. No one considers all the lives lost in the spread and name of Christianity. Okay. But they want to blame it on Islam. Stop being hypocrites. Just because you ain't going out and murder anyone yet. And we talked about it before. Governor Phil Bryant did the speech. It was in a past episode. The speech where he said Christians were really willing to give up, to die in opposition to LGBT rights. To die fighting for what they quote unquote believe. And you tell me that Islam is crazy? That's the same shit that the suicide bombers are talking. This is the same shit that Omar Mateen got his guns up and murdered those people for. What you are celebrating as devotion is the same thing that leads to zealotry, which leads to death. But it's okay in the name of your God. And that's the sad thing. That's the crazy thing. You believe in this. You talk about Islam. You do the same shit. You preach the same stuff. And in fact, you worship the same God. Allah is Yahweh, which is the Christian God. You all draw roots from Abrahamic traditions. It is the same narratives. It is the same. But you want to make yourself different. You want to prop yourself up to make yourself feel great, like you would never do it and you're not responsible. But you're fucking responsible. You're just as responsible as radical Islam. You're in the same boat. You are one of the same types of people as Mateen. And this is the point of my entire talk here, is that Mateen and this horror is not just a national tragedy. It's not a foreign attack. This is the culmination of American thought, current American thought. This is the culmination of everything people are being taught in America. This is the culmination of bigotry. It's the culmination of hate. It's the culmination of religious zealotry and toxic masculinity. And we're only going to see it become worse unless people actually start doing something about it, until people start recognizing that these things exist in our society. That they exist, they're a part of it, they're deep-seated, and they need to go. They need to be gotten rid of. until America realizes that the problem lies inherently in America, in the American ideas, in the American society, until we sit down and say enough is enough, these things will continue to happen over and over and over again, and they will escalate. It will go from tens to dozens to 50 to hundreds. We're not different than the rest of history. Okay? You're not. History runs in cycles. I've seen it. I know it. I've studied it. And I can tell you that things will only get worse until people say enough is enough. This is an election year, and we've had all that drama of Sanders and Clinton and Trump and all that stuff. And it just shows me that people still aren't quite ready to admit that there needs to be change. Now, so many people want change. So many people claim they want it. But it's still being pushed forward with the same old stuff. We're going to follow the same old people. We got the old gracious fucking racist Oompa Loompa that is Donald Trump. And then we have the crazed bitch in a pantsuit that is Clinton, who represent the same mindsets, the same things that this country has been representing, has been pushing forward. And we're going to put one of them in office. And the same stuff that has been happening is going to continue to happen. Because we are too chicken shit to actually push things forward. I think one of the greatest failings of the civil rights era of the 1950s and 60s and even 70s is that it stopped. Is that it didn't push forward hard enough. It tried to appeal to these American ideas instead of trying to take them down, to get rid of them. And then it put black people back in the same shit they were in before, only a little nicer. It never really solved anything. And with the current push for LGBT rights and equality, it's still the same thing. Instead of all of us pushing to, get rid of the horrible things in society, we're just like, oh, well, let's just accept this and let's be like everyone else. A friend brought up to me the other day how even the narrative of homosexuality and equal marriage rights, it is that you still see couples that are the poster children for that movement as following the roles of heteronormative American society. You have 2 men, 2 women, but they still sit in those masculine and feminine roles. They still portray the American ideal. They still appeal to the American ideas instead of pushing for ideas that work for said community. It's not acceptance, it's just becoming what people are used to. And that's not good. When what you're used to is bad. And that's the thing, it's bad. And until people start pushing for change, like pushing for actual change, incidents like this Orlando shooting will keep happening, and mothers and fathers and parents will still lose their children, and politicians will still talk, and the media will still spin the story, whatever, whoever, and people will still get all their shits in a tizzy on Facebook and social media, and still nothing will be done. And that's the horrid truth of it all. We stand at a crossroads. After this shooting, and once again, this shooting is not just not some special thing that happened. It's not different, but it serves as another eye opener. (2016) and everything that's happened and continues to happen should serve to show that we are at a pivotal point in our society, in our country. A point where we are given the choice of changing for the better and moving on as a people together and demanding that these things stop, that these ways of thinking stop, that these ideas stop. This is the time where we can say enough is enough, our lives mean something, or we can sit back and let things slowly snail its way towards what we think is acceptable in all deliberate speed, moving within a system that is already poised against us. I'm not a member of the LGBT community. I'm straight black male, but I stand with them as a minority. I stand with them as a member of an oppressed peoples in America. And not only as a black person, but as an atheist, because atheists are too oppressed. They are a religious minority. Not a religious minority. A religious minority per se, because we ain't religious, of course. But I'm also not particularly I don't particularly believe in monogamous relationships. I don't know if they work or not. I'm still working on that personally. But I'm not a member of the LGBT community, but I stand with them as someone who is outside the norm and within an oppressed society. As we all should stand with them. I don't care if you don't agree with the LGBT lifestyle, whatever, and you quote unquote lifestyle. I don't care if you don't believe, if it's against your rights. You should stand with them because they are people just like you are. They are targets just like you are. They hurt, they bleed, they have families just like you are. Care for people. It is time to care. It is time to take a stand. It is time to do the things that are necessary to keep incidents like what happened in Orlando, keep incidents like what happens around the country with these horrible mass shootings, incidents like Trayvon Martin and Tamar Rice and every other person that has been gunned down and murdered for the ideals of this society and what has been pervasive in this country throughout history. It is time to stand up, care for humanity, and fight back. Don't just sit there. Take a stand. Say enough is enough. How much blood is going to have to be spilled before people realize that? And it's not just your struggle. It's not just their struggle. It's all of our struggle. Because when one hurts, we all hurt. When one life is lost, we all lose. So I'm begging people. I'm begging the America. I'm begging the public. I'm begging any listeners out there. Please stop the political nonsense. Stop the hate. And fight. Just fight. Not for just you, not for me, but for the future and everyone in it. If you love America and if you love people, this is your time to prove it, to save America from itself. Because America right now is Omar Mateen. He is America. And he must be stopped. And this is where I'm going to end it. It's only been an hour. I'm pretty sure you people are tired of me talking. But this has been episode 13 of the Outer Voices podcast. There may be a second episode coming soon. This might be a part 1 of 2. I haven't decided yet. I will have to talk to some other co-hosts when they return, but this might actually be a part 1 of 2. So, I will be signing off now, and hopefully I will talk with you all, and you will hear my voice again very soon. Again, my heart and everything in me, my heart and soul, goes out to the families and the victims of the shooting in Orlando, and the LGBT community who lies in mourning, and all of America who feels the pain of all this loss and all this hurt. I stand with you. I stand beside you. And with that being said, this has been episode 13. I have been Rakeem, and I wish you all a good night.